It's your choice to be the king. So let's move now. One of the things that I remember when I was in youth ministry, and that's one of the main reasons why we're doing right now. Listen to this. And I'm going to go ahead with our walk. Let's go ahead and go to Proverbs verse 16, verse 9. 16, verse 9. Let's look at that in terms of establishing our walk. Listen to this. A man's mind plans his way as he journeys through life. But listen to this. The Lord establishes his steps. He directs his steps. And that's what we need to make sure that we do. We may have plans, but the Lord establishes our steps. And guess what? Those steps are sure. Those steps allow for our wives to look at us and see, this is a man that's after God. This is a man that's following God. This is a man that's serious about getting after the heart of God. Is that right? So she can walk in safety through your leadership. Why? Because your leadership is being led. You're being led by the Father. And she knows you're being led by the Father because you're spending time with the Father. You're investing time with him. And guess what? You ain't goofy. You ain't spiritually goofy and no earthly good, no practical action. Why? Because faith without practical work is dead. Do you hear me? You can know the word. The demons know the word. But what we need to do, we need to make sure, fellas, we need to make sure that we are in position. Because when our wives look at us, and I remember and when they look at us, they're looking at our walk. Our walk is going to do a lot more talking for us. So let's go to this piece, the next piece. I've been in youth ministry for years and years, fellas. That's one of the main reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing here. And what drove me, and I believe what God allowed for me to be drawn towards just ministering to and helping to disciple and build kingdom men. Do you hear me? Because in the ministry that I was in youth ministry, I've been in youth ministry in the urban areas, in the inner city, my whole ministry career. Do you hear me? And one of the things that I saw that was missing, that was one of the main causes of the problem, do you hear me, that these young people were facing for this over two decades of youth ministry. I was like, you know what? I'm here and I'm focusing on the symptom. I need to get to the root. Do you hear me? And one of the things that when I was in youth ministry, one of the things I learned is that they didn't listen to my words until they saw my walk, until they knew that I was real, until they knew that it was authentic, until they knew that what they were dealing with was the real thing, wasn't no hypocritical stuff. Do you hear me? So listen to this. Listen to this. My question to you is this. Will your children come? Now, I've been in youth ministry. I've impacted thousands upon thousands of young people. Do you hear me? And they share with me, my mom, they don't listen to me. I don't want this church stuff. Why? Because they're not living it. I'm not seeing the heart of God in my house. I'm not seeing, as for me in my house, we're going to serve him, like Joshua said. I'm not seeing that. So if they ain't seeing that, and guess what? That's why a lot of times the churches, youth ministries are dead, because they ain't seeing it at home. Do you hear me? That's why what we're doing with the husbands, because the one thing I saw was missing, fellas, I saw the mamas. The mama was there, but the one thing I saw was missing. They didn't have pops. They didn't have a platinum standard man in their life. And a lot of times, I was that. I was the father in the neighborhood, one of the fathers in the neighborhood, or unk, you know what I mean? So we need to stand in this gap, because this generation is watching our walk. They ain't listening to our talk. They tired of listening to our talk. They're watching our walk, and they need us to know this word. So where are we going with this? We're going to go to John 4. Listen to this, John 4, verse 23 and 24. And somebody goes into the chat, go ahead and put that in the chat. John 4, verse 23 and 24. And this is the words of Jesus, man. And I hear you, Sean. So goes the man, so goes the family, so goes the neighborhood, so goes the city, so goes the state, so goes the world. Do you hear me? The man is the key. The man is the key, fellas. That's why we're doing what we're doing. But John 4, verse 23 and 24 says it like this. But a time is coming, and it's already here. Listen to this. When the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit, from the heart, from the inner self, and in truth, because the Father seeks such people to be his worshipers. God is spirit and the source of life, yet the invisible to mankind, and those who him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Fellas, this is what our kids looking for. They looking for that true worship from the heart. They ain't looking for no perfect husband, no perfect dad, no perfect pops. They looking for a pops that's real. They ain't looking for that. They look for no perfection, and you ain't gonna be perfect. So stop trying to not show them your stuff, but show them your real relationship with God, your real walk with God, worshiping him in spirit and in truth, because that's what our wives need. But our children are dying because the only time they see us worshiping God or having a semblance of worship is a couple hours on Sunday. When it comes time to getting in that word throughout the week, when it comes time to having devotion with your family, when it comes time to digging into the word and like living it out, right? And listen to this, James 1:19, being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry when your children are dealing with something. Why your children think it's okay and feel more safe going to somebody else than going to you? You feel me? Because they're looking for James 1:19. They're looking for the opportunity to see the word at work in your life. Sam, go ahead. What you got?
I just wanted to share with the brothers that all this is so true, because before my fall into addiction, I was fervently and faithfully serving God and my children from my first marriage. My children, they seen that in my walk. When I praise, I don't praise from the body. I praise from the heart. So tears flow, and I fall to my knees. I'll stretch out face down on the floor. They seen that egotism, which usually was in man, that pride. They seen all that gone. So when I fell by following others instead of keeping my focus, letting Satan turn my focus, when I fell, when God restored me back, my children knew that I was fully restored back when they seen that walk back in my life. Not my words, but my actions.
Come on, Sam. Come on, Sam.
And my children are grown now. All of them live in different states. But when they need to pray, my phone rings. When they need an answer or advice, my phone rings. And they tell me, Daddy, don't give me what you have, but give me what God has. Just give me word. That'll lead me.
All right, Sam, man. Hey, what's your cash app, Sam? Go ahead, pull out your cash. We about to take up an offering, Sam, over here, boy. But listen, I'm telling y'all, this is what it's about, man. This is really about the true worshipers, man. And why? Why is it even important? Why is it even important to be a true worshiper from the heart? Why is it even important for your children to see your authentic relationship with Christ, right? Your frailty, your that's right. Yes, a man of integrity. That's right, Sam. But why is it important for your children to see your real relationship with him? Is exactly what Sam just said. So your children could get their focus off of you and get it on to God, because they're going to need to have a relationship with God after you leave. Now I'm about to go and let me pull this up, man. Now, and this is close to my heart. Well, I'll be right back. This is so key, y'all. I want y'all to see something. This right here, this is my dad's Bible. Now, my dad, he passed away in 2015. This is my dad's Bible. Do you hear me? Deacon John L. Davis Jr. This is my dad's Bible. Do you hear me? And when he passed, when I got this, I went all the way through the Bible. And everywhere that he marked that in here, I put his initials by every scripture that he marked. I went through the whole Bible, this whole word, every scripture that he marked, I put his initials. The reason why I did that was because I wanted to honor his legacy and his time. His time with the Father. His time with the Father was spent just getting in his word. Do you hear me? His time with the Father. So now I have received this mantle. I've received this. Now, what I've done, like even on the scripture today, and I was thinking about the scripture in Psalms 90, in Psalms 90 verse 12, it says, "Teach us to number our days." And then I was writing down my notes in here, and I have my notes. You can see I got the things that I've written in here. You hear me? So my notes are in here now. And as I write in here, I put my initials by some of the things that I wrote, because you know what? I'm numbering my days. I know I'm not going to be here today. Just today, I said, God, just like I'm writing notes in here, this is going to pass to somebody in my family. And they're going to be reading the word that I read. The words that I'm writing, the notes that I'm writing, and the side notes that I'm writing, they're going to get that. Here's one of my dad's, as I told you, he's one of the things that he highlighted right there. Y'all see that? He highlighted that right there. Wait, hold on. Right there. The LD too. I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Fellas, I'm telling you, man, my dad didn't teach me how to pray by sitting me down and saying, okay, Chris, this is how you do it. My dad taught me how to pray. Every night when I walked past his door, my dad was on his knees before the Father, before he hit the bed. That's when I became a man of prayer. I became a man of prayer. I understood that it was important to be a man of prayer when I saw my dad on his knees every night before he got in that bed. He would get in the bed before he got on his knees before the Father and called out to the Father. That's how I learned how to pray. You hear me? So the things that you do are speaking so loud that the things that we say aren't making any sense to our children. If we're saying one thing and doing something else, and guess what? Our children are listening to what we're doing, and it's so much louder than what we're saying. And that's why a lot of the kids that we dealt with, that we work with, they come to us. You hear me? Because once we were in their life, we were there for them. We were kept it real. We was who we were, and they saw us worship. They saw us pray. We taught them how to pray. You understand? We're in their life, but we're part of the village. But the village starts at home, fellas. So, man, that's our time tonight. We got to ask the 3 key areas, because the third key area is this, man. We're going to end here, and we're going to go back to the VIP, and we're going to kind of chop it up there. But the third key area is this, that we want to ask God to establish. We already said the first key was we want to ask God to establish your work. You want the work of your hands to be blessed. Do you hear me? And successful. You want to ask God to establish your walk. Because everywhere you walk, you want it to be established. You want to know that you are a man that's worthy of being followed, because you're following in the footsteps of your Father, and you're living out the heart of God. And when he looks down at you, he sees his heart being lived out. Do you hear me? With a smile on his face. And that's where our strength comes from, because guess what? The joy of the Lord is our strength. Do you hear me? And then the third key area that we want to ask God to establish, we want to ask God to establish our worship. We want to ask him to establish our worship. And I want you to hear this. After we leave this earth, listen, this is already withered way more than what I saw earlier. It was even more radiant earlier. This already withered way more, because it's dying. Fellas, we don't have forever to deal with the issues that's going on in our house. That's why we do How Kings Communicate, because I want y'all to communicate like kings, so that when you get before the Father, your wife's heart ain't all messed up and tore up because you didn't learn how to deal with not being harsh, or didn't learn how to undo some of those patterns that you grew up with. That's why we do why we do what we do, and why we're focusing on How Kings Communicate, because we want you to communicate like the king that you are, so that you can honor God and he can see his heart being lived out in your house. And as for you and your house, when he looks at your house, oh yes, I'm going to command my blessing there. Why? Because I see humility there. I see obedience there. I see integrity there. I see faithfulness there. I see love. I see joy. I see peace. I see patience. I see kindness. I see goodness. I see gentleness, and I see self-control. in that house. So I can't help, listen to this, I can't help but to bless you because I see my heart being lived out. I see you worshiping me in spirit and in truth. Now, what happens? My dad's been gone since 2015. So almost, what is this, 2023? 8 years. 8 years in March. It was March 15th. 8 years. Do you know my dad's worship is still impacting his next generation? All my brothers and sisters, it's impacting us. Why? Because guess what? God inhabits the praises of who? His people. So you want your children after you. The greatest gift that you can give your children is your worship. You authentically worshiping God by asking God to establish your worship. You ask God to establish your work. You ask God to establish your walk, and God will establish your legacy. Fellas, we only have 6 more spots for How Kings Communicate. I am going to, anyone who puts a 1 in the chat, put a 1 in the chat. Or if you want to do VIP, just put VIP in the chat. We only have 6 more spots, period. It's intimate, but we're going to go deep. And we have the rest of our brothers that's on the call. If they're VIP, we have the rest of the brothers on the call because we are walking together. This is once a week, what we're doing here on the Platinum Pursuit. But I want to walk with you. I want you to connect with the brothers because men need 2 things. They need community and they need accountability. All that I'm talking about tonight is good, but guess what? Right now it's information. And fellas, from the chat, I don't care what any one of y'all. Is it about information or what is it really about? I want one of y'all to just unmute yourself. What's it really about? Is it about information? What's it about? This is our language, fellas. Listen, go ahead, Charles.
Transformation.
What'd you say?
Transformation. Transformation.
If you want transformation in your life, and I see you, Reg, that's what's up. I'm going to reach out to you, brother, and we're going to get you the information so that you can come alongside us, man. We want you at the King's table. We want to be able to sit down and break bread with you at the King's table. But information is cool. And that's what you're getting tonight. And I hope that you can get somebody that, and have a community or have some brothers that can come alongside you that are running in the same race so you can start to witness transformation. Do you know, I just was listening to this today. And one of the brothers that's a part of, he just joined Platinum Standard. I was just listening to this today. Do you know that over 80% of New Year's resolutions that started off in New Year's of January this year, over 80% of them have been broken. 80% have been broken. Do you know how many have kept them? What percentage? 8%. 8%. You hear me? 8%. Now, there's one thing missing that I see from someone who just makes a resolution and they have a good intentions. But if you make a resolution, but you don't have any accountability, you don't got no community encouraging you down. When you down times, you're going to stay down. Why? Because Ecclesiastes tell us it's just like this. 2 are better than 1. You hear me? Because when you fall, you have another to lift you up. But when you're 1 and all doing it all by yourself, guess what? You don't got nobody to lift you up. So fellas, put a 1 in the chat for you to be able to get plugged in to How Kings Communicate. We're going to be starting April 10th. Put a 1 in the chat that lets me know to reach out to you, because if that's what God has on your heart, and you know who you are, if you need to connect with us, if you need to learn this so you can teach somebody else. So even if you're in a good spot, you need to learn some things that we're learning so we can come alongside you. I would love to fly out and teach alongside you the things that we're teaching, or we can do a virtual piece together. If that's you, and you know it is, and I see you, Juwan, I see you, my man Andre. We're gonna be connecting with y'all for real. But that's our time on this side. We're about to go over to the VIPs, fellas. And guess what? You guys get VIP access when you go through the How Kings Communicate. Why? Because I want to walk with those brothers who seriously want transformation. This is information and this is cool. But if you seriously want transformation, the How Kings Communicate. That's where it starts. You hear me? God bless you. God keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you. May he his face towards you and give you his favor and his peace. And may every step that you take be established by God. Do you hear me? Well, love you guys. Let's get it. I will reach out to you guys. Dre, I'll be reaching out. Juan, I'll be reaching out. Reginald, congratulations, fellas. Y'all looks like y'all be 3 of the 6 spots that we have. And I'm also going to be sending out an email tomorrow. You hear me? So we're gonna get it. God bless y'all. Remember this. Always remember this. We got to end it every time with Jesus, baby. When you keep your marriage in your life in the hands of Jesus Christ, he will give you the strength and the strategy to stay joyfully married and keep it platinum for life. Let's go. Fellas, that's our time on this side. Fellas, that's in the VIP. We're gonna chop it up over what we just talked about. All right, God bless y'all on the recording in the group. Thank y'all for rocking with us tonight. The recording, the live is about to stop now. Peace.